the question that I get right now is, what market are we in? Are we in a seller's market or are we in a buyer's market, right? And let's determine what makes which market. So here's what we need to understand, and I'm going to dive into this. However, a seller's market, if we are in a seller's market, that means we have less than 6 months, right? And so if we have less than 6 months, then that means we're still in a seller's market. But we're hearing that inventory's increased, right? So what does that mean? Well, if a buyer's market, that means we have more than 7 months market, and if we're in a neutral, we're right in between 6 and 7 months. So what that means is if we don't have another home come on the market, if we're in a seller's market, it's going to take 6 months to sell out. And if we're in a buyer's market, it's going to take us 7 months or more to sell out. That's if another home doesn't come on the market. So that's your poll question. What market do you think we're in? And we'll answer that question a little later in our presentation here. So should we wait to buy a home? That's why you guys are here. You want to find out, is it time to buy a home? Do I sit on the sidelines still? Well, let's figure this out. Well, what are the biggest threats right now within our market? And that's important to understand. And so the 2 points right now that we are dealing with is the recession and interest rates, right? So here's what we know. These uncertainties have given buyers pause. So we're seeing, because of the interest rates right now and what's going on in the market, gas prices, food prices, everything has gone up. But what it has done is it's put some buyers who were in the market back on the fence. They're waiting. They're trying to determine, what do we do? I'll just wait. I'm going to time it. All right. So that's what's going on. It's just some uncertainty. But what does history tell us? Well, what it tells us about the recession and the effect on the real estate market is, well, drum roll, the recession doesn't equal a housing crisis, right? And ladies and gentlemen, let's just put it out there. The government hasn't said we're in recession. They don't want to use that word. They're saying, well, if this and if that, then we might be in a recession. I'm going to let you know, my opinion, my professional opinion, we are in a recession, period. Okay. So here's what we need to understand, though. Out of the 6 recessions that we have had, four of them have been positive growth within the real estate market. That is what is important. Now, we mentioned as far as real estate, the interest rates going up. Yeah, they're going up. As you can tell, though, in the months of August, see, this is where being in the off the fence and being involved in the market, you might be able to experience where the interest rates drop, right? As you can tell, since we've been in this downcline since, let's say, May, right? And not a downcline, but the increase in market, increase in interest rates. And this is where the market really tilted. Right after the start of summer in June, we saw the interest rates climb up. And then we saw some volatility. And then in the month of August, we really saw some volatility within in the marketplace. But then we are starting to see the interest rates rise again, right? And if you've been paying attention to the news, we saw it rise again just a couple of days ago, right? It's all based on what news that we get. However, here's our projections, okay? And I want to preference, I've been in this business for a long time, since the 80s, okay? And when I got into business, interest rates were right around 13, 14%. So when we're talking about interest rates being at 5%, ladies and gentlemen, that's still good. It might not be 2%, which is great. However, the interest rates as to how we see them are still good. We're just spoiled. That's, to be honest with you, right? And so, and a lot of you are much younger, so all you see is what has been happening the last few months. I get it. I understand. We got some answers and some solutions for you. However, what we're looking at is an average of approximately about 5.5% thereabouts, right? And in some indicators, it might be even lower than that as we move forward through the 4 quarters of next year and finishing off Q4 for this year. So as we are ending our summer month, right? Mortgage rates, what we're starting to see is they're stabilizing. We are seeing buyers return to the market, and we're actually going to start seeing, I think we're going to finish with a strong 2022 real estate market. And the reason why is because inventory is starting to drop. So are we in a housing correction? Well, that's still a debate, but the answer is no. Here's why. Appreciation is slowing. It's not depreciation. What we're calling it is deceleration, right? If you look at, on average, month over month, we've been seeing at least a 20% increase in appreciation. Well, if you look at the month of July, well, June and July, we saw a deceleration where 18 and now down to 15. And we're probably going to be somewhere around 10% when it's all said and done with. But what we're talking about here is the appreciation is just slowing down. That's really bottom line, right? And so as we look out here, annual home prices growth slowed for the 3rd consecutive month in July, but remain elevated at 15.8%. So yeah, we're just slowing down, but it's not happening as far as a market crash. A more balanced housing market with year-over-year appreciation, we're just slowing. That's it. That's it. And what we're going to see into 2023, projection is we're still going to have appreciation. It's just not what we're accustomed to, such as double digits. So that's still a good thing. Still a good thing. All right. So recession doesn't equal housing crisis. Well, what does? Well, history tells us inflation and home prices. Well, when inflation hits, appreciation increases. It's a hedge. Home ownership is a hedge against inflation. Home prices still rise, right? And that is what is happening at this time. Right now is the best time to buy in the next 5 years. Now, this is Dave Ramsey, and we're actually going to hear from him because I think it's important. He's saying the message that is important for people to hear. And the next 5 years are going to be very pivotal. Okay. It's going to be advantageous for a buyer. And I apologize for whatever reason today, the words are not coming out of my mouth as to how I want them to, but that's all right, because I am excited as to where we're at in this marketplace at this time, right? So we're going to let Dave Ramsey talk and tell us his story and what he thinks.
Here's the thing I want to tell you guys right now. This is an unusual market because we're kind of at this midpoint. There's like a tipping point thing going on. It's like it's getting ready to go and flip. It's not going to flip quick, but we're at this moment in time, and I would say for the next 6 months, this is going to be true. That, and you can't usually say this, is what I'm saying.
Can't
Right
wait.
now is the best time to buy a house in the next 5 years. Right now. And here's why. Okay. Prices are not going to go down. Some of you are saying, well, I'm going to wait for prices to come down. You're not going to get them.
Yeah.
They're not coming down.
Yeah.
Okay. They're going to go up slower, but they're not going to go down. They may not go up hardly at all, but they're not going to go down. And so 5 years from today, houses are going to be more expensive. This is as cheap as it's going to be in the next 5 years. So this is the best price right now if you're going to buy a house. Well, interest rates are up. Buy the house. If interest rates come back down, refinance.
Yeah.
But don't not buy waiting on interest rates to come down. Just refinance the mortgage if interest rates come down. This is the best time to buy a house in the next 5 years. And here's what's weird. This is also the best time to sell a house in the next 5 years. Why? Because we're still have semblance of the crazy white hot market around. And it's really just vibrating. It's still really like, if you're a seller, you really have a real hot commodity right now. You got a nice house, you put it on the market, it'll go. And it'll go for a really good price right now. And it may not be that way 6 months from now. The market may slow down enough that as a seller, you may have to sit on the house for a while to get a good price out of it.
Yeah.
Now, I don't think you're going to lose money 5 years from now. But if you got I was talking with a friend of mine last night that had a really big expensive property that he sold, a farm. He sold it. And he said, because this was the best time in the next 5 years to get rid of that farm. He goes, I didn't have to sell it, didn't need to sell it, but it was timing the market that this is a great, it's an unusual statement when you can say this is the best time to sell in the next 5 years and this is the best time to buy in the
I know,
next 5
because
years.
it's still.
Yeah,
like,
but it's not going to get cheaper.
Yeah,
It's not going.
right. What causes real estate to go down? This is a stupid question, but I'm saying it out loud.
When supply exceeds demand.
To go, yes, but in the history of real estate,
There's only one time in the last 100 years that it went down.
okay, ever.
Period.
So year after
It wasn't
year,
interest rates.
always it's gone up, except
Yeah,
for the
in
recession. Rate.
1982, when the interest rates went to 19%, 18% fixed, the prices did not go down. Now the sales came to a screeching halt.
Yeah.
People quit buying because they couldn't afford to pay payments on a 15% mortgage. But I mean, I was selling real estate at the time. I was in my early 20s selling real estate, trying to make a living. I was in college selling real estate. I sold some houses in a 15, 16, 17% fixed rate market. But some of them were for cash. People had money.
All right. So, as Dave Ramsey said, this is the best time to buy. Pricing of homes are not coming down, right? But I want to get your opinion. What's your opinion on the real estate market? I'd like to find out what you think. Are you ready to jump in? Are you uncertain about the market? Are you waiting for the market to improve? And will you wait on the side of the fence until you're convinced that it's time to jump in? Weigh in on the poll questions would be helpful. I appreciate everybody jumping in. But as Dave Ramsey mentioned right now, is that the pricing of homes are not going down. It's the supply and demand. That's what's happening. The supply has been low. We have had low inventory for a long time, right? And so here's what is happening right now. And this is giving you kind of an estimated home price performance of what's going on since Q2 of 2022. However, let's look at 23, 24, and 20. The next 4 years, we're still going to have appreciation, right? Let me tell you, 4% is still a lot of money in 5 years. In fact, if you'll write this down, if you're in your home, you need, and in this market, you got to be in your home at least 5 years. And on average, home owners are selling or staying in their home for at least 10 years. But if you're in your home for 5 years, no matter what happens in the market in between, your home will appreciate 50% of what you bought the home for. 50%. 10 years from now, of you moving into your home, closing escrow, 10 years later, it will have doubled. That is important to really get a grasp of. Now, I get asked this, and buyers are so, renters, I want to stay right now, interest rates are high. Well, here's what you need to understand. Interest rates might be high. That's temporary. What's not temporary is the rental market. That's not temporary. that continues to increase as well. Why? The fixed rate mortgage allows you to maintain the biggest portion of your housing expense at the same payment. Property taxes will increase a little bit, 1-2% or so year over year. You might have some expenses that creep up, right? That's part of it. Home maintenance, that's all part of it. However, that's not the case with renting. Renting, we're talking about record pace, ladies and gentlemen. Rent is going up 15% just this year, right? It's huge. That's not going down. Let's take a deeper look. Is it cheaper or better to rent? Well, let's look at this. And you look at the chart right here and you tell me in the chat, what are you paying a month? Tell me what you're paying a month. And Lee, if we can get some participation, look in the chat and give me some of the numbers, right? And then we're going to go across the board here. And if we can do this quickly, because we got a lot of things happening today, we got a lot of information. So put in the chat what you're paying, and then we're going to go across the board as to how much money that actually equates to, right? So I'm going to give you 5 seconds. Do we have anybody in the chat that's answering? I just need a couple of people. Lee? Okay, great. Thank you.
Yeah, we get some direct. Yeah.
Okay, so I'm not going to name names here, but 1,500, 2,500. Okay, so let's go with the 2,500. Okay, let's see. All right, 2,500. So 1 year, just times that by 12, $30,000. 2 years, $60,000. So depending on how long you're actually plan on renting, this is what you're paying, right? Pay rent. This can be equity in your home. So if anyone wants this chart, text me or email or put it in the chat. We'll get this chart out to you, right? But let's look at it at a closer as to what it means between rent and equity, right? What you pay in rent could be equity in your home. Let's see the details. So let's just look at, oops, sorry about that. So let's look at someone said they were paying $1,800. In 10 years, we said 10 years, $1,800 in rent, monthly rent, you're missing out on $279,000, $280,000 in equity. Now, equity is cash. And I don't know what investment that's going to give you that rate of return in a 10-year period other than owning real estate. And it doesn't matter here again, what economic downturn or change in the market we're going through or experiencing. Okay. Here's another example. $575,000. Let's just call it $500,000. $500,000. So on a purchase of 1.3, home was purchased in 2021, right? And in a 5-year period, that same home is worth 1.875, $500,000. I don't know what inventory or what investment is going to give you that kind of return. So listen, I've always said, if you're ready to buy a home, you need to really figure out what is it going to take to get into a home. We're going to walk you through this process, right? And those that are, you might be on the fence because you're not sure whether or not you qualify. Well, you need to talk to us. Right? You can book an appointment, let us know or ask us. And this is all it's all private conversations. Yeah. We'll talk to you. We'll put you on the path. We'll give you a game plan. We're going to talk about how we actually do that. So is this a correction or is this a crash around the corner? Well, let's take a look at our 40-year chart. In order to answer that question, we got to go back 50 years. See, this is what you're going to get from us is we're going to give you facts, not fiction, and we're going to give you information based on tracks, trends, based on numbers. Numbers don't lie. Math is math. The trend is a trend, but things are happening. As you see this here, this is an upward trend. But let's look at the last 4 recessions, right? 91 to 94, we had 11% drop. 2001, the dot-com bust, we had a 10% drop. We had a 27% during the mortgage debacle, right? Everybody was around during the 2008. Just recently, 2018 to 2019, we had an 8% reduction. But what that means is we're averaging, as far as a correction, right around 10%. And so, well, what about the crash, Don? I mean, can't that happen again? Yeah, it can. But what caused this? The 27% drop. What caused that? It wasn't about the market. It wasn't about the interest rate. It was about the homes, the number of homes that were on the market that caused that 27% drop or market correction, right? So in 2008, we had 14 months of inventory. Now, remember, what do we say? A buyer's market, 7 years, 7 months or more. Well, we have 14 months of inventory, 10 times the number of homes for sale, right? This is where we're at now, January 22. The number of homes for sale is up, right? Inventory is still very low. Even when inventory was climbing and increasing, inventory as of, we're in September, beginning of September, we started to see it really peak. And now we're starting to see the inventory decrease, right? So what about a recession? Well, historically, we've seen a repeated uptick in interest rates. So we have seen interest rates increase during this time. But guess what, ladies and gentlemen, what goes up must come down. I think that's a song. I don't know who sung it yet, but that's a song. What goes up must come down, right? So let's take a look at what has happened during our last 5, 6 recessions that we've had. 1980, interest rates went as high as 16%, dropped to just under 12, okay? Now, keep in mind, how long does a recession last? Anybody want to take a guess? Put it in the chat. Tell me how many months you think a recession on average lasts. And then we'll go from there. Lee, keep an eye on the chat. Let me know, and then I'll give them the answer. But 1981 to 82, right? 18%, it was up, dropped to 13%. Then the early 1990s, it was 11%, dropped to 8%. The 2000 recession, 7.4, dropped to 6.8. Great Recession, 2007, 6%, dropped to 4.9. And now COVID. Everybody remembers what happened to COVID. COVID happened. 3.8 dropped to 2.8. That's when the frenzy started. But keep in mind, 3.8 is fantastic. 4.9 is great. So as you can see, ladies and gentlemen, the interest rates are still good. If you go back to 2000, we were at 6.8% at that time. And the market was still moving, right? And now we're right about 5.5%. And we might drop down a little more to average, maybe just in the high 4s, right? So as we look at this 40-year chart, 50-year chart, it's an upward climb. That's the trend that we are in. Don't get caught up. Now, someone said, thank you very much for those that answered. 18 months. Stephanie Reyes, I'm going to call your name out because you are correct. On average, our economy or the recession is about 18 months. So what happens after 18 months? Interest rates will drop. They will drop. And when interest rates drop, what do you think is going to happen to the values again? Someone just put it in the chat. Anything. Give me an answer. Someone tell me what's going to happen when the interest rates drop and where would that put you? That's what I want you to think about. This is why we're doing what we're doing. We're doing this on a weekly basis because we need to get the message out that now is the time. If you can buy, you want to buy, you need to be in the market to help yourself, because we are talking about creating legacy. We're going to talk about that more. So let's talk about one of my agents here, Brad. So he bought in the worst time ever. He bought right at the peak, and he paid high dollar $810,000. Okay, we're going back to the 50-year chart so you can identify with what that means. He bought at the peak, 2008, 27%, right? So in 4 years, it dropped 27%, as low as, so he could have bought that same house that he bought for just under 600,000. However, in 5.5 years, it had completely recovered. So what do we say? 5 years, it doesn't matter what is going on in the marketplace. He recovered 5.5 years, completely. All the money that he lost or equity that he lost tells a story. Well, it doesn't stop there. 10 years, what do we say? 10 years, it doubles. $1.6 million, his home had doubled. Double. The address is on there. You can look it up. You can see the history. It's right here. The address is Andalusia Way in San Jose, right? It's worth right now, today in today's market, 2.2 million. Okay. That's real, ladies and gentlemen. It's real. This is what we're saying. When is the best time to buy or sell? It is now. Time is now, right? All right. Okay. So we see 1 to 3 months, 3 to 6. Okay, very good. So people are you're really here to think about purchasing, which is great. That's wonderful to see. All right. So this was our forecast in 2022. Appreciation to slow, but prices are still rising 10%. So right now we're still on track. Inventory will increase as more sellers list. All right, well, we're a little bit off of that because we are seeing the inventory still decrease. Nationwide, we are expected to see less than 500,000 homes on the market, and we have close to over 3 million buyers or so that are wanting to buy. Not enough inventory, right? Rates will rise. We were right there on point. Okay, so we are in a race right now. Now, I had this screen or this slide when the market was booming and you're racing to get the house because everybody else is beating everybody to the house, right? And you have multiple offers everywhere. However, we're still in the race. The race is getting to a home before the market turns and puts us back out of the market. Now we're talking about affordability, right? This is the opportunity. There's so many things happening. We're now seeing contingent sales. We're now seeing sellers paying concessions to the buyers as far as closing costs. You know, we're talking about people worried about the interest rate. Not a problem. We can negotiate to get that interest rate down by getting the seller to pay for closing costs. We'll talk about that. So here's what we're seeing right now. Number of inventory, the inventory market. So the green represents the sales. So as you can see, September 21, as we move into January, we saw, look at the sales, we're outpacing the number of actives. And then the number of actives in February, well, this is the start of the spring. And then the buying season starts in March and April, and we see the number of sales outpacing the active, the listings, the inventory, right? And then May, June is when we start. This is pretty typical. May, we started seeing the increase in inventory. Typically, we don't see the increase until June, but we saw it a little early. So June, July, number of sales, interest rates were up. You know, and I think what happened is a lot of buyers felt, let's just see what's happened. Let's just pause a little bit, right? It's just like COVID. Let's just pause a little bit. Let's see what's going on. You know, people getting sick. All right. All right. So inventory increased, but then everybody got used to it. It's like, let me get back on track. Let me get back, accomplish my goal. People are buying, but this is a great time to get in because there's more people sitting on the fence. So let me be a part of, let me get into my home. And those that did made a lot of money even within 1 year. But now what we're starting to see is a drop in inventory. And that's what I'm saying is that we've already seen the inventory cap.